Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. My name is Louis Mendes. This is the big match preview on this week's show. We'll be looking back at Tuesday's home defeat against Crawley Town, and of course, ahead to Saturday's trip up to Lincoln City. Joining me for this midweek therapy session, first up, top right, Sue Gallup. How you doing, Sue?
I'm all right. I hope everyone else is. I'm just reading the comments already, and yeah.
Yeah, well, Martin said he's getting ready to reliving the pain of Tuesday. We've got to get through it. We've got to get through it together. There's loads of you in the chat. I'll come to you in a sec because I've got to say good evening as well to Tom Walling, but on the screen there as well. How you doing, Tom?
Been better, but it's not a lot worse than we've seen for the last few years, is it really? So looking forward to yet another season in League One next year.
Well, fingers crossed. Have you binned off the yellow shirt at this point?
Oh, it's actually underneath today.
Oh, nice.
It's underneath, but a bit cold, so put a hoodie
lovely
on.
Stuff. Well, I'll put on the old 1999 yellow shirt so I can sort of have the same shirt as you as well in respect of Tom's away
Everyone
shirt.
wants to be like me.
Yeah, well, yeah, in a way. Not supporting your rugby team, but anyway, let's I have no interest in rugby. Let's look at Tuesday's game. So on tonight's show, we'll look back at the game on Tuesday. We'll hear my interview with the Addicts boss, Nathan Jones. And I know a few of you heard a clip of it on last night's BBC Radio London show, but I think it's worth discussing because I did ask Nathan about the crowd reaction on Tuesday. I feel like that. I mean, it's been coming, but I think that was the first time that they properly turned on Nathan, I think, on Tuesday. So we'll hear that. We'll talk about that. We'll hear from Matty Godden as well, who's skipper on Tuesday night. And then we'll look ahead to Lincoln. We go again on Saturday. We've got Ben from the Stacey West blog who's going to join us later on in the show. We'll hear Nathan Jones look ahead to the show as well, to the game as well later on in the show. As I said, there's loads of you in the chat. I'll try and get to as many comments as we can throughout the show. David's in there. Mike Salmon's back with us, and it's definitely up there with one of the worst performances at the Valley. All hell let loose is in there. Jack, James, Michael, Brazilians, George, Andrew, Mickey, Chris. Let us know your thoughts. Jay said he stopped crying now. Well, that's good. And Robin saying hello as well. Let us know your thoughts on Tuesday's game. Where did it go wrong? Where do we go from here? I guess is the burning question for a lot of people. And let us know how you're feeling ahead of Saturday as well. What do we need to change before Saturday? And there could be a lot of comments coming in. So give us your views. Mainly in the YouTube chat will be the best place to put them. But you can email us studio@charltonlive.co.uk, or you can tweet us at Charlton Live as well. Everyone will be delighted to hear that the recording of the comms failed on Tuesday, so we don't have to listen back to it soon. So we can dive straight in to a pretty tough evening at the Valley. So we've lost at home, just our second home league defeat all season. But yeah, it wasn't a good night. Loud boos at half time and at full time. We were a goal down at the break. It was a good shot from Tola Shomi. Got back into it second half, but then was it 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes from the end? Looked like a mistake from Maynard Brewer not closing down the shot as well, and then Max Anderson with the winner for Crawley. I mean, the performance. Where'd you start with that one, Sue?
Yeah, it was a rough one, wasn't it? I do agree with a lot of the comments. It was one of the worst games we've seen for a while. And I think I commented to my friend during the game that it felt like the energy was completely off. Like it felt like one of those last game of the season, sort of like seeing out the end of the season, mid-table kind of dross. But I don't know. It's a weird one because people are getting frustrated, and again, like you've just said, that's only the second game we've lost at the Valley this season.
But I don't think it's on the
I don't
amount
know.
of home defeats that was winding people up personally. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. But it just looked quite disorganised. And they all just looked a bit lost. The communication, and I think again, I said to my friend, I do feel like having Ashley in goal, he doesn't communicate with his defenders at all. And I think there was a couple of instances when the ball went back and it was like Alex and him were like, who's going for it? Where I know Alex normally would be the vocal one, but I don't know, the communication was off. It just felt really flat. There was no energy. There was no kind of urgency from any of our play. It was just a really, really hard watch.
James says, "Oh, come on, it's disgraceful football." There was a comment about from Michael, says that hoofball is not working, very lazy, no midfield creativity. Robert saying we need to play with wingers. Spam saying, as bad as we are and the football is terrible, we can't sack Jones, only being in charge for 10 months. And since Curbs, we've only had Powell and Bo connect with us fans. Is it us? Maybe we're a badly run club. I mean, there's elements of that. I mean, the badly run club has obviously been a recurring theme over the years. But I mean, Gary, first of all, talking about style of play. I mean, there's a few people who like to say talk about the long ball tactics. Tom, is that where you'd want to focus? I mean, it's a tough watch when it doesn't feel like there's, that spark in the side. So it stands out like a sore thumb now. But that game against Stockport of the Valley, where we hoped we'd finally cracked it in possession. I mean, it was a one-off, and it feels like we're sort of not progressing in that style. Like there's been talk all season about how we need to become more fluid, but we haven't seen it, have we?
No, not at all. And I think the boos and the reaction at full time is as much based on the style as it is the defeat. Because as you say, I know we haven't lost many, but we've lost games at home before, and some of them get applauded off, or there's at least a neutral reaction. But the problem you've got the longer we're in this division is that fuse gets shorter and shorter and shorter for fans, right? So you're prepared to cut less and less slack. And when you're then watching that style of football, that adds to it. And it's not just the style of football, because I think I said this on a show, it might even have been last week. If that style of football is effective and it's working, then fair play. If we'd won every game at home this season going into this, we might be hating the football, but we'd be S-housing all the other teams with this direct style and winning games. You'd say, all right, fair enough. Okay, this time it hasn't worked, but let's go on to the next one. But it's not working. And I don't think it has worked at all. Maybe. I know we've got some wins and we've got some results, but what worries me most, and look, I don't particularly want Jones to get sacked. I'm sure we'll come on to the managerial debate separately, but if he honestly and truly thinks this is working, which is what he seemed to say in his post-match, then we're in real trouble. And when he's coming out, and I know I was particularly vocal on our WhatsApp about Alan Campbell. He's someone I'm really struggling to get behind in particular, and I know he might be a scapegoat, but I thought he was dreadful. But he comes out after the game and pins him out as the one person who's being excellent in getting us on the ball. Now, we know Jones is a bit of a character. Is that just him knowing that he's the one that the fans have pinned out because obviously he was getting jeered on the ball and so he's doing the opposite? Maybe it's that. But you're just going to lose fans very, very quickly. And I think people are prepared to give Jones some time. Not everybody, I appreciate, but some people are, because he's got a reputation above, I think, what we expected. He has done okay at some clubs previously. And so people want to give him time. And also the other thing I obviously spoke about the other night, about the amount of managers we've had who haven't had time. All of that goes in his favour. So don't ruin that. Don't start turning against the fans. Don't start giving it to the covered end at half time. Don't start, turning on fans in press conferences and when we win a game, giving snaps at fans, because you're going to get yourself in trouble. And it's turned like this before with other managers and we've lost them as a result. And I understand fully why some people want Jones to go, because of the style of play and because of the lack of creativity and all those things as well. I do worry what any other manager would do with this bunch of players. And if Jones was part of the recruitment of that, then he's got a lot to answer for. But I think he needs some more time. But I'm struggling as much as anybody to justify this style of football because it's not working. He brought TC and Small on at some point during the second half of the game, and the injection of pace they made just by being on for a little bit was huge. I know it didn't contribute to a win because largely we were dreadful across the pitch, but it shows what you need in this division to be effective. And lumping it up to Leeburn, who looked disinterested when you've got no runners around him, it's just not working. It's not worked really when we've won games. We've been a bit lucky, and it's not worked when we've lost games either. And unless that changes, I don't see us getting out of this division. And I want Jones to be the one to change that, and I want him to drive it. But if he's seeing this as a positive, or saying the style isn't the problem, I don't know what we do. It goes back to your very first question: what's the answer? Or what do we do? I don't know. I just don't know what we do from here. It feels like this is another season we can write off already. It's not even Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know what I know about stats and all that nonsense. I mean, a realistic way for us to not be writing off this season means that we have to win over 50% of our remaining games. So let's write this season off again, as we do. Happy 5th of December, by the way. This is 5th of December. It's back to the Valley Day. Bloody hell. Well, way to put a downer on that one. But 13 points from the last 14 league games, not acceptable. That's Stuart. Charlie, assuming he's done his maths right, says it. Therefore, it's 13 from 42 possible points. Sue, I mean it's pretty bad. Like there's no getting away from that. I said on again, I might be going over the ground. I said on radio last night, but just because not everyone would have listened to that. I said a bit sarcastically after we got beyond Burton last week, it was a statement victory, because it wasn't. It was, we didn't go out there and put in the sort of performance that suggests, right, this is a side that's now ready to swashbuckle themselves back up the top of the table. We put in the same performance we put in almost every week, where we reduce the game to a certain style and just try and batter a team into submission with the way we do stuff. But that was a sarcastic comment about statement win. But was Tuesday a statement defeat? This is who we are. This is what we're capable of. And unfortunately, because of the way we play, and there are a lot of fine margins in games, we're gonna come out of a lot of games like this on the wrong side as well.
I think I'm reading the comments down the sides as well at the same time as you talking about that. And we've had this discussion so many times over the last 4-5 seasons. It's getting boring, that, and I'm sorry, and people will disagree with me, but it's got to go a lot deeper than the manager. We've had consistent crapness for the last 5 years, and obviously we've already said about this changing the manager every 6 months. That's not going to work. So we still are not clear on who is getting players in, who's allowing other players to be released, right? So
yeah, I mean, don't forget that half of Nathan's old sides have joined us this year, so that does suggest he certainly had his fingers all over that.
Okay, but I'm going to make a point about that. So we don't know what players he was originally in for, right? And the possibility is that they've gone to other sides like Birmingham, like Huddersfield, like Wrexham, right? So, and everyone can disagree with me if they want. I'm just saying what I think. If those players went to other clubs, then for him, he's like, right, what players have I got that I've played under me before that are available and that I could possibly trust to do a good job for me? I feel that's the only reason those late Luton boys came in. I think if he'd had other options that he wanted and got in, most of those Luton boys wouldn't be at Charlton. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I get your point you're making. I was trying to think what time and some of those players came in, because we did the majority of our business early. I know a bit of the mopping up was like Dan Potts and Danny Hilton coming late, perhaps squad fillers, I guess. But yeah, I mean, even if we're talking about ownership, I mean, there was a comment a minute ago, so I'm just trying to refine about how it's not the owners who pick the tactics. And the way we've played over the last few weeks. That comment was in that chat a few moments ago, which I can't find, Tom. So, I mean, it's not like Nathan doesn't take any responsibility for how it's gone this season.
He has to. Yeah, he takes a huge amount of it. And as I say, I'm desperately trying to find a way to keep Nathan Jones in this job. Or obviously, I'm not making the decision because, you saw how angry I was when Appleton got sacked. And if that doesn't tell you how much I don't want managers to get sacked, then I don't know what does, because Appleton was the easiest sacking I think we've made in a long, long time. But even that, when he did get sacked, I was raging. And not because I thought Appleton was good, but just because I'm sick of us doing the same thing over and over and over again. Jacko, Holden, Garner, Appleton, Adkins, they get the same amount of time, at most a year and a half. And when we start to get to this part of the league, they go, someone else comes in, half builds a team, gets us out of the relegation scrap, and then the same thing happens over and over. So that can't be the answer. Having said all that, this style of football is possibly the worst we've watched out of all of that. And so when you add that in as well, it puts even more pressure on Jones. Plus the fact, as I said earlier, that the fuse gets shorter every year we're here as well. So he has got a huge amount to answer for it. Take someone like Luke Berry. I was quite excited when he signed. I thought he'd got quite a lot to offer. He has scored us a few goals, but we maybe haven't seen enough of him. So I'm not that angry about someone like that. But when you play someone, again, I know Alan Campbell's going to stand out here, but he is, I think, somebody that he had played for him before. We could all see on Tuesday night it wasn't working. Now, I know he didn't really have a midfielder on the bench, but you change the shape or you do something else. Because for me, he was making so many mistakes. He was losing the ball. He was one of many that sort of shied away from that second shot. And yeah, I know it wasn't just him. But if we're looking at those ex-Luton players as well, then they're not pulling up any trees, but then neither are the other signings. So what do? You look at the players that are standing out for this team. It's the same people. It's Chuks when he's fit. It's TC, who's come through the youth team, who's got a bit of pace about him. Kane Ramsey looked exceptional prior to his injury. Apart from that, Lloyd Jones had been here a couple of years. There isn't many others that if we had the money, you wouldn't do a complete rebuild of. Even Leeburn, who we had such high hopes for, I don't know if he's just given up. I don't know if he's still unfit. I don't know if he's frustrated. He's not getting the service because he has got goals in cup competitions, but in the league, he's just nowhere near it. Matty Godden, proven at this level, but in this system, nowhere near it. And if it's a system thing for the likes of Leeburn and Godden, then that sits with Jones. But if he's got a midfield that he can't play it through, and that might be his fault, whether it is or it isn't, then what else do you do? For me, you get some width on. Dixon may well be raw, but if you put Dixon and Tyrese Campbell on either side, you can't deny it's going to scare some defenders, and you probably get to the byline. The crosses might still be rubbish, but they're hardly great at the moment. So there's so much wrong. The formation is wrong. The style of play is wrong. The recruitment is wrong. People are going in their droves again. It was so empty on Tuesday night. So the atmosphere is in danger of getting wrong as well. There is so much wrong at the moment. And at the start of the season, none of that was happening. The style of play wasn't great, but we won 2 or 3 in a row. We were like, okay, we can deal with this style of play when we're winning games. But now we're in that difficult spell. We've lost Chuks again. Every manager, when they lose Chuks, seems to drop off. And if it's really that Chuks was papering over cracks yet again, then we're banging trouble. And if that is the case, you've got to look beyond Jones. Jones is absolutely part of this, but you've got to look beyond that because the recruitment and all of that stuff has been bad for a while. So it just feels like it's a mess. And I don't want to sound like we're catastrophizing here, but because 2-3 weeks ago, we weren't anywhere near as despondent as this. But going back to your question to Sue earlier about a tipping point, just felt like that on Tuesday. It's the kind of realization that, again, we're not going up. And I'd be with you. It took me a long time last year to agree with you because I was so desperate to see the positives. I'm quite happy to join that camp now and say I don't see how this side goes up this year now.
I'm going to start emailing you a copy of the graph every day until it gets in your head. Right, we've got loads of your comments to talk about, but I want to play the interview with Nathan Jones from Tuesday night because obviously it refers to the booing and the crowd reaction and what Nathan made of that as well. This is Nathan speaking to me after the game on Tuesday. And it's a defeat here against Crawley this evening. What did you make of the game?
Like I thought the performance was poor in terms of, especially first half. We had a goal. Second half we made real positive changes to try and get back into it, but we've conceded from distance again twice, and that's a frustration. But some of our decision making and some of our quality tonight wasn't up to standard, and that's why we've lost the game.
Why do you think that happened this evening?
I don't know. We'll debrief. We'll have a look at it. But we weren't. It was a real edgy night all over, in terms of that. And I thought players didn't make great decisions when they had opportunities. I mean, we've had more shots than them, but they've had more on target, and us they showed a bit more quality when chances came. We snatched at stuff in the final third, and we had as many positive players as we possibly could at the end, but just couldn't get any real bit of quality. The one bit of real quality we did show, we scored from, but it wasn't a good performance.
You talk about having to make positive changes to try and get that reaction from them. When you debrief, do you look at that and see if maybe you could have started with that more positive lineup in that second half?
But we did start with three strikers, and we started with three strikers, but it didn't prove that way. We on the weekend we were pretty dominant, and we had a considerable amount of chances, quality chances. Tonight, any time we had any kind of things, we didn't capitalise. We had Alex Mitchell had a great chance early on, didn't take it. They scored from 30 yards or 25 yards or whatever it is, but we didn't really show that level of quality. Second half, we've had 11 shots today, but 3 are on target. Where they had 7 and I had 6, so it shows that they've demonstrated a bit more quality in the final third. Anytime we had an opportunity, we snatched at it, and that's why we haven't probably scored more.
Yeah, and that inconsistency from Saturday, where they did take the chances again, can you try and understand why that's changed so quickly again?
No, look, sometimes you take a chance, sometimes you don't. We are inconsistent at the minute. We're not putting levels of performances together that are the thing. Look, we've had a lot of injuries. We're having to play people in makeshift positions, and so on. So that's affecting certain things of our fluency and our balance. But look, we have to be better than we are tonight.
You see, at the start of the season, the team was built on not conceding many goals, but the two tonight, I mean, particularly the second one, I guess, not closed down. Ashley might have felt like he could have done better than that as well. That's not really the level you'd come to expect from your team at the start of the season.
Well, no, we haven't. But to be honest with you, we haven't conceded many goals apart from, if you took the goals outside the box, out of the thing, we've hardly conceded a goal. Like, if you look at all the games, Birmingham in the Cup, Huddersfield the other day, 2 tonight. Teams don't carve us open, but everything from distance is going in, or something like that, a parry and back into danger, and we don't react quick enough. So, we have to be better from that. We work on that, and we anytime anything's around, we want them to sort of close quicker and be better. But that's the only time we're really conceding. Is anything from distance, and that's a real frustration, because we work, we're organised, we don't get done, no one gets in behind us, we don't concede from a header and from 6 yards, or something flashed across the 6-yard box and someone gets a tap in. We don't concede any of those goals. It's just from distance, and that's something that has to change, because that's costing us points. And
the crowd was showing their frustration at numerous times tonight, including in the first half at half time, and it did feel like you very specifically yourself were getting boos when you were going down the tunnel as well. What did you make of that?
Fans pay their money. They're entitled to their opinion. When things go well, they cheer. When things don't go well, you get the reaction. We had the reaction tonight. It was an edgy night, I felt, all night, but that's because we probably didn't give them the performance that they could get behind.
You can understand why Charlton fans have been edgy over the years then, and seeing their side sort of in mid-table at the moment, still trying to cling on to that playoff race at this stage.
Fans pay their money, they're entitled to their opinion.
There you go, that's Nathan Jones speaking to myself after the game on Tuesday. I'd love to know what was going through his mind during that sigh at the end there, Sue. Nathan's not been afraid to speak about the fans this season, after Birmingham. He offered to leave if the fans who've been picking different sides to him feel like they could do better. Do you think the way he's sort of reacted to the fans over the course of the season has played a part in why he has been received so negatively over the last few weeks? That and the fact that obviously the football has been pretty frustrating, to put it lightly.
Yeah, I think I guess it's difficult for me to say, to kind of judge him on the interviews, because again, and I was thinking about this after Tuesday. It was like, whenever interviews are done, it's always straight after the game, and people don't have time to reflect on what's happened. And yeah, you have your media training and all that sort of stuff when you start playing. So he's experienced at that level, and I think with him, he's such a passionate person. And I'm don't get me wrong, I'm not giving excuses for some of the reactions we've had from him, but I think he finds it hard to pull that emotion in, and he's so attached and invested in what he's doing that I think he lets that side of it get to him sometimes. And I think that breath was probably him thinking, I need to be careful what I say, because if you're a reactive type personality, quite often you could say things that you regret. And I think he is very mindful that he needs the fans on side. The team need the fans behind them. And I think he knows he needs to just maybe take that step back and think about what he's saying when he's talking in those sorts of interviews where it is there was high emotions there Tuesday night through the crowd as well. It was awful.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it on near half time. So I think it was shortly before half time. And if my memory served me correctly, Ash, he'd done it a couple of times during the game, unfortunately, and we have to come on to the goals at some point as well. But he shanked a clearance into touch, didn't he, Tom? And there was booing. This is maybe a minute or so before half time, if I remember rightly. He's booing, like the fans are booing, and then I'm looking down at Nathan, and he looks bemused and shocked and surprised, but. I mean, at some point, you've got to come to expect it. I mean, Spam's saying he's got an ego and a lack of culpability that doesn't help. Yeah, Chris said there was a pregnant pause and that he's an egomaniac. I mean, like I say, he's spoken about the fans. Richard says he's lost the fans. I mean, that's what it felt like on Tuesday. And obviously, not every single person in the crowd's booing, and anyone who's just sat there silently, you're not going to hear it. But it was more boos than we've heard before. It was clearly directly aimed at the manager as well, which we've not seen. Very rare you see that. Normally it's aimed at everyone and everything, but it was very clearly aimed at the manager. I mean, is there any way back now at this point? It's so hard. When it's been in that situation, it's so hard to come back. The only way it comes back now is if you win 3 or 4 in a row. But you know, anyone who's watched Tuesday and thinks, right, we're going to put a little run together here, is more optimistic than I after watching that game.
That's the problem. And we thought this was going to be the run, didn't we? Because as you say, we scraped past Burton. We were slightly fortunate there. Got a very decent win, albeit against a League Two side. But I thought you and Tel covered that game well on Sunday. And look, we all went into that expecting that to be tough, and it wasn't. And I know the 4 goals maybe don't speak to the whole game, but you beat a team 4-0, you've got to have played okay, whatever the style of football. But then on Tuesday night, I said it to you and Nate, didn't I, at half time? I said, I don't know why people are booing, because it's no worse than we've seen all season.
I think, yeah, you're right. That's what it was. We both said it. The games have been the same. I'll put it on Twitter at half time. It's exactly the same, but it's happened too long now. It's a typical
exactly.
We've not shown that improvement.
And I think the reaction at the full time fully justified, because the second half was an absolute shambles. And I know we haven't got to the goals yet, but when Kanu scored, of course I wanted us to go on and win the game. But I was a bit worried that if we did win the game, does that vindicate what's going on? But at the same time, as I say, then you've won 3 in a row and you start to kick on and you're starting to look a little bit positive. So, yeah, I don't know. The other problem is, and again, I'm not trying to defend Jones here, but no one's telling their keeper to just slap it out like that. Like Ashley Maynard-Brewer, he did that, as you said, 3 or 4 times in the game. Now, that's just incompetent goalkeeping. Now, he might be saying to Ashley Maynard-Brewer, I want you to go long rather than passing it short. That might sit with Nathan Jones. But at the same time, a goalkeeper being paid that amount of money, or just being a professional footballer at League One level, should be able to kick a ball straight, should be able to do that. The point that S&C Davin makes, though, you know, when Jones then comes out and says, oh, we went that bad second half, you look at that and you go, okay, that sits with Jones. And it goes back to this whole point that I think all 3 of us are making, that everything just suddenly feels like it's wrong. The recruitment and the squad and the playing style we've talked about for a while. Now the manager feels like he's losing the fans. Now everyone's going back to Andy Scott about recruitment, the ownership. Charlie Medden will start coming up again, where he's obviously gone a bit quiet, hasn't he? Whereas when we were winning games, he was Saw him in a couple of press
He
articles.
piped up a few weeks ago to mention how many scars, half and half scars we saw.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so he'll go quiet again. So people will turn on him. People will turn on each other because there'll be some people pro Jones, there'll be some people anti Jones, and all of that it becomes borderline toxic again, and it gets to the point where until a manager goes, nothing changes, and that's the problem. That's the problem. So. Look, I have absolutely no problem with people booing. They paid their money, as Jones says, and that's absolutely fair enough. I was just confused why it happened at half time because we've seen that performance week in, week out. But as you say, maybe it was just, it was cold. It was a team that we felt we should be beating. We've come off the back of 2 results. And it almost felt like we were doing it as like a parody of long ball football because it was so emphasized that we were playing that direct style, whereas at least in other games there's been a little bit of a blend, whereas it almost felt like a sort of sitcom where you're portraying a team that play direct football, and that it just got to that point in the second half for me where I was just like, I'm just so fed up of this now. So it's just a combination of all those things, and as I say, Jones is obviously a huge part of that because he picks the team and he tells them how to play. As I say, he doesn't tell Ash, as far as I'm aware, to kick the ball out of play, but everything in terms of the style does sit with him.
Chris saying it's too late, Sue. Nathan's lost the majority of the fans. I don't think some of the players are playing for him as well. Yeah, and Charlie, so, as I say, I saw this in the first. Obviously, I sit sort of at the very front of the West Upper in the gantry there, but so I have to lean over to see him. But when the first set of boos went after the shank from Ash, like I looked over and he had a proper stare at, like, I don't know. It's a very strange situation. Let's talk the goals quickly because we need to get on to Lincoln soon as well. We need to get into part 2 of the horror show. But the first one, lovely finish. To be fair to the fella, Tola Show Me. Unfortunately, Macaulay Gillespie showed him inside, and he gave him like so much space to hit that shot. Sue, yeah, and from outside the area again, it's not a coincidence when it keeps happening.
No, I mean, when it went in, I sit with my friend Sarah, and we both clapped it. We were like, "Wow, what a goal!" But and I've said it on here before. Why are we not closing players down? How are we allowing teams to go get those shots from distance in? Like that just shouldn't happen. But again, it's like you look at the defenders and they're all looking at each other as if like who is supposed to be picking that one up, or it's just, yeah. But it was a class goal. It was a brilliant goal. But the defending, it's just got I know, and we're talking about the goals, but again, I'm just going to bring back in as a defensive unit. Since Lloydie's not been playing, we look completely lost.
Well, Gary's saying that him and his son left after 28 minutes, couldn't take no more of it. I mean, it felt like the rot had set in quite early, like you could see exactly how we were going to perform. Our goal, Tom, you'll be shocked to hear, came from an arrowed long ball forward. Gas did win his flick on, and I mean that's what we were playing all night. A bit of percentage football, long ball. If we can win the flick on, it might land for someone. And to be fair, I mean Wallacott, not a great keeper when he was here anyway, but he made a very rash decision. It's like he never left, really, just to come off his line. But Dan had to do what he had to do, and that was a really good finish for Dan. If you think about the Birmingham game when he went off injured, he played really well in that game, and just felt like he was hitting his stride. So I'm glad he's come back, got a goal, and hopefully he can add something to that side now.
Yeah, I thought he'd finished last season well as well, or played well generally through last season, and didn't really start this season that well. So as you say, at the Birmingham game and maybe one or two before that, I was pleased that he was starting to sort of get into his stride, as you say, and then classic, he gets injured and he's out for a while. So yeah, I was delighted. But I've spoken a little bit about Leeburn already, and his performance. Godden in the 10 just isn't working, and Gas does what he does in terms of winning balls. Although actually, ironically, that was one of the first ones he'd won last Tuesday night, I think. Whereas usually he's pretty good at winning the headers. It's just there's no one anywhere near him. So yeah, it was, and that's what I mean. That was a tailor-made, exactly what Nathan Jones wants from this side. He wants a direct diagonal ball into a long player, nod it down, someone on the edge to snap it up. Wallacott made it easy for him, or easier for him. It was still a difficult finish. But yeah, that's what he's looking for. You're just not going to get away with that at this level, I don't think. I saw someone way ago in the comments say, has he underestimated what this league's like? And yeah, you're just not going to get away with playing that style of football, 20 times a game. You're at best going to get one goal. And that's the fine margins point that Jones talks about. But I think he's bringing those fine margins on himself. So, yeah, it's great to have another option on there. I don't think we can play three up front. Again, we've played it, twice, I think, and it's definitely not working. So now he's got to look at Kanu as a potential first choice starter. But again, it comes back to we need to change the style. But I think Kanu offers us something a little bit different, and he looks hungry. Again, going back to when you compare him to someone like Miles, and again, I don't know what's going on with Miles, so I don't want to slag him off too much. But Kanu came on, looked hungry, looked energetic, put himself about, and got his goal, and it was a good reward for him individually. Obviously, I think we still deserve to lose the game, but for him, hopefully, he can be pleased with that and try and kick on from that at least.
Yeah, Miles hasn't looked the same as he since he come. I think Huddersfield away had a couple of moments on the ball, and I thought, yeah, maybe he's hitting his stride, but yeah, didn't look it Tuesday. And then the second goal, we just had an email from Ray saying the second goal, Alan Campbell ambled towards the goal scorer, and worse than that, he turned his back. He needs to look at the effort that Alex Mitchell puts in game after game, and McSquare talked about long range shooting as well in an email. Yeah, Ash has to do better as well, but it weren't until you sort of watch the replay you see how bad it was from Alan Campbell as well. I don't know what's going through your mind when you're that far, when you're sort of defending just about the edge of your box and you're in shooting range, so you've got to close it down. You've got to make it more difficult for them to hit a shot, and then Ash has got to push it wider, or yeah, he can't be doing that.
Sorry, I was just reading the post. Yeah, that was, and I saw it earlier in the chat. That's schoolboy goalkeeping. I mean, yeah, again, going back to the point about Alan Campbell not closing down and turning his back to the play, but then it's just like, I don't understand what I mean. Ash I think it might have been about sort of 5-10 minutes before that, he'd made two really good saves. Very like quick reactive saves, and then that happens. You just think, what are you doing? It's frustrating.
Yeah, right. We've got to move on. We've gone well behind the timeline. We're going to hear from Matt Godden. A couple of minutes with Matt Godden. We'll go into the break, and then we'll focus on Lincoln. So this is what Matt had to say after the defeat in midweek.
It's a tough night after the week that we've had from probably the 30th minute at Huddersfield. The character we showed there, I know we didn't get the result, but I think the character we showed rolled into the game at Burton the other night, and then again into the weekend, and we felt like going into the game tonight that we could really try and build some momentum, and it was obviously suffered the setback and didn't really see it coming, to be honest, but it's happened, and it's ended up not being a good night.
Can you put your finger on why the performance wasn't quite where you would have hoped it to be tonight?
No, I don't know. It's just one of those things, really. It's something that I can't really say why it's happened, because of how we performed at the weekend, and then Tuesday night, and then the Saturday before that. It just seems like that we're taking a 2 steps forwards and then been knocked back again, and we just need to find that level of consistency, because that's what this league needs, and we know that 2-3 wins in a row can boost your chances and make you do things that you want to do. Yeah, I mean, obviously consistency has been a problem at times this season. Obviously you've been there, done that over the years. Can you put your finger on what a good team can do to be consistent, and what Charlton haven't done so far this year? You just have to be a team, work hard for each other, and we need everyone to be together. And as soon as everyone's together, that's what I've experienced in the past when everyone's been together around the club and as a team. It's that's what I've noticed has made me successful in the past. Yeah, I mean, obviously we heard the fans made their opinion quite clear at times this evening. Can you understand why they're feeling the way that they are? Listen, fans are entitled to say what they want to say and act how they want to act. It's their football club at the end of the day, and I've been coming to this football club since I was little as well, and the fans are entitled to react, like you said, and do what they want to do. But it's up to us to be men on the pitch and and try and take that away from our game and try and drive on and put in a performance.
Yeah, and there's obviously a bit of a gap opening up now to the top 6. Is there still that belief in the group that they can string that run of results together to get back into that race?
Yeah, well, like I said, at previous clubs that I've been at, I've been bottom in November and reached a playoff final. It's leagues are bonkers. This league's no different, and it's. We know that we string 2, 3, 4 wins together. You'll probably be in the playoffs. It's one of those. It's such a strange league, but it's up to us now as boys to go out there and do that.
PSF Steel Limited is a trade supplier of steel fabrication and erection services to the new build, construction and refurbishment market in southern England. With their unrivaled depth of experience, they excel at providing their customers with high quality and cost-effective steel fabrication solutions. Their customers include national and regional house builders, such as Barratt Homes, Bellway Homes, the Vistry Group and Taylor Wimpey. They pride themselves on their service-based ethos and commitment to customer service excellence, which includes full technical backup and on-site services and support. If you would like more information, go to www.psfsteel.co.uk. That's www.psfsteel.co.uk.
Hello fellow addicts, I'm so excited to tell you all about our micropub, the River Ale House. The River Ale House is based in East Greenwich. It has 6 Pub of the Year awards, an ever-changing selection of amazing beer. It's owned by Charlton fans, walkable to the ground in just 20 minutes with buses that go direct to the Valley too. If your matchday routine includes a drink with your friends, you must join your fellow addicts in the river. See you soon.
Well, welcome back to Charlton Live. This is the big match preview. We've been looking back at Tuesday's home defeat against Crawley Town. And now let's look ahead to Saturday's trip up to Lincoln City. Delighted to say that Ben Ward from the Stacey West blog is joining us on the show this evening. How you doing, Ben, my friend? Oh, are you on mute? Have I gone deaf? Right, Ben's going to sort it himself out. So while we're waiting for Ben just to double check his microphone is waiting. I've just been looking at some. I mean, I think Matty Godden said in the interview there about we need to string a run of results together. But Brazilians were saying it doesn't think. Hello, Ben. Right, I can stop filling now. How you doing, mate? How's it going up there in sunny Lincolnshire?
Yeah, I think we're all just about calmed down after watching a pure display of thuggery from Rotherham United on Tuesday. But yeah, no, it's okay at the minute. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. So yeah, we're doing okay.
Yeah, tell us about your overall start to the season. I mean, you're 9th in League One. Obviously, we've seen Lincoln sides over the last few years have good seasons at this level, and considering where you've dropped down to over the last few years, I guess are you pretty satisfied to be sitting where you are in League One at the moment?
I think personally, yeah. I mean, my sort of goal for the season, if you like, I thought if we finish 10th or above this season, despite the fact we finished just outside the playoffs last season, I thought if 10th or above, given what's gone on over the summer and who's come down, who's come up, the amount of money that's going around, I thought 10th would be a decent spot for us. Then we had a really good start, and all of a sudden it's starting to feel like there's maybe a little bit of entitlement, perhaps, about if we don't finish in the playoffs, could it be a bad season for us? But ultimately, I mean, yeah, I'm delighted. I mean, having, as you say, having seen the club on its backside in the National League for a number of years to where we are now, I think becoming an established League One side was the goal for a while, and obviously the next step is to kick on to the Championship. But it almost feels too soon every season. Every time we get close, it just feels a little bit too soon to be there. So I don't know if this is going to be the season that we do it, but I'd love to see if we can do it, to be honest.
Hiya, Ben. I was actually going to ask you about what your expectations were going into the season with the sort of up and down roller coaster that is League One. But you've sort of answered that already. So with your squad at the moment, who are the ones that are really standing out for you that could be maybe even looked at in January for other clubs to come in for? Or where are your strengths really?
So, I mean, the two players really that when someone says, "Oh, who is it? You standout players?" For me, Ethan Arahan in midfield. We signed him from, I think it was Motherwell, a couple of seasons ago. He's just a Rolls Royce of a central midfielder. He will go for 7 figures at some point. We've got him. I think he's got about 2.5 years left on his contract. We expected him. We kind of expected some movement from him in the summer. Sounds like no official bids were made. There were inquiries, but nothing serious. But my suspicion is that sounds like there have been Championship clubs looking at him anyway. If he does go in January, I think it's probably going to be a bit of a blow. But a lot of fans have got the faith in the board to kind of reinvest that money in a sensible area. So if he does go, it sounds like we may well have somebody lined up to replace him. And then the other one who, if he went, I think it'd be a real blow for us, would be Paudie O'Connor at the back. He's just a mountain of a man. He is, he's our captain for a reason. You chuck whatever you like at him and he'll get rid of it. He's absolutely fantastic. And I think as of a couple of weeks ago, he was also a player that had the most touches in the opposition box, and he's a central defender. So he's an absolute powerhouse of a defender, is Paudie. But then we've got quality all over the pitch at the minute, with maybe some dips in form in key areas, but the quality's there. I mean, I think I just saw somebody with a comment saying the two Ethans. So we've got Ethan Arahan and Ethan Hamilton, just fantastic players. It's Tendai Darikwa as well at right wing back. He came in, I think our target sort of players were quite young. And then Tendai comes in over the summer and he's 32, and everyone looks at it, goes, "What bloody hell is he doing?" We bought him in to replace Lasse Sorensen, who was one of our crown jewels last season. And then Tendai's come in, and he's just a specimen. He is superb. He's probably the most physically fit 32-year-old I've ever seen in my life. And he will run up and down for days. He's just fantastic. So there is quality all over the pitch. It's just at the minute, like I say, there's a bit of a dip in form at the top of the pitch.
Good news for you is we haven't got quality anywhere, Ben. So you'll be fine at the weekend.
That's harsh. You've got Alex Mitchell.
True, and we did have Conor McGrandles. Obviously, signed him from you, I think, initially. And he obviously he was someone that I think when we signed him, we knew what damage he could do from what he'd done against us. Really struggled. I know he was a bit injury hit when he was with us, but really struggled to settle in the side. Although, again, going back to our form this season, maybe he wasn't the problem. But how's he settled back into life at Lincoln?
He's just slotted right back in. I think technically he's on his 3rd spell at the club now, but obviously he came in on loan from you guys and then he signed for us permanently in the summer. What I'd say about Conor McGrandles is you really notice what he does when he's not there. Like when he's playing, he kind of just does the stuff that you don't really think about. And then when he's not playing, you suddenly realise, oh, yeah, Conor normally picks that up, and he's just quality. It was a bit of a disappointment, to be honest, when he came back towards the end of last season, because we had a real issue with central midfielders. And then Conor came in, and it was like, cool, right, we've got somebody back in, we can plug the gap that we've got. And then obviously he got injured after, I think, 2 or 3 games. So it wasn't like he had the best spell with us towards the end of last season, but coming back on a permanent deal this year, he's class. I mean, I think honestly, we've probably got the best midfield that I've seen at the club for a while. I think in general, we've probably got the best squad I've seen at the club for quite a long time. But when you've got essentially we've got an all Scottish midfield, McGrandles, Arahan and Hamilton. He's slotted back in really well.
It'll be interesting to see how good your midfield is at looking up as the ball flies over their head on Saturday. Ben, it's been a pleasure having you on this evening's show. Good luck for Saturday. I'm coming up to Lincoln tomorrow night, actually, so I'll bump into you on the night out of the town.
No worries, mate. If you're get yourself in the fan zone beforehand, have yourself a curry from Curry Jacks, and we'll get you a pint. Nice. It'll be good.
Lovely, jubbly. Cheers. That's Ben from the Stacey West joining us this evening on Charlton Live, giving us a lowdown On the imps, I'm going to try and get into the cathedral so I can finally see that imp on the wall. I've been wanting to see that for years. But yeah, really good to have Ben on. As Stephen says, spoke really passionately about his side. Something we've not been able to do for years. More away day woes incoming. Let's have a listen to Nathan Jones ahead of the game on Saturday. I haven't put the whole presser in here because it was quite long, but just a little clip looking ahead to Saturday's game, starting off with the team selection news.
Clutching at straws a little bit on Tuesday night, but it was good to see Daniel and Lloyd back out there, and Daniel, of course, getting his goal as well. Back in action after injury. They both get through it okay? No reactions to Tuesday night from them?
No, they both got it. And I understand you saying clutching the straws, but like we're so close. We're close to being a good side. It's because, you look at results and people lose by 3s or 4s or whatever. We don't. If we lose a game, we lose it by the odd goal, and usually in that odd goal, we've had big chances. So there's a side there that is consistent in certain things, but consistently winning games, that's the important thing, and that's what we're not doing in the league at the minute. So I understand what you say about clutching in straws, because it was very difficult to look, well, that was a real positive, that was a real positive. I thought there were performances in there that were good. It's just the majority were well below par and didn't implement a game plan that we had worked on. Lots of things that we put in a massive shift on Saturday to win an FA Cup game, convincingly against, albeit lower league, but very good opposition. A lot of teams rested players, we didn't. We want to compete in all competitions. Plus, we had 3 midfield players who were out, so that we lost a lot of spark and energy and things there. So there was a lots of things around it. These are no excuses, but these are things that you understand. So look, we'll be ready to go again, and it's a really important period coming up now with both League Cup and the Christmas period, and it's a big one for us.
A lot of frustrations currently around, and I think as well as the suspensions, at one point I think we had 10, maybe even more than that, players out. I think I lost count. I think we're we whittled it down to about 6 now. I think that we're out. How are they? How are we close to getting any further players back?
Look, we're in a far better position than we were this time last week. Like a far better position with people coming back, people have had minutes, people are sharper, fresher, and I said we won't mention that now, because when we've got a lot back, and the people that are out, apart from right side, right back area, we've got cover in all areas now, so we're in a much better position. But as you said, look, we've got a big period coming up. We realise what we didn't do the other night, and we realise what we did really poorly. We understand certain things, but look, we're ready to go now, and it's a big period for us.
Next up, just above us in the table, and they themselves have been on a bad run, I should say. I think 5 of that are winning, 3 losses on the bounce. It feels like it's going to be a big game for both sides on Saturday.
Look, they all are. This is a real strange league, like in terms of the consistent one. That you don't have to do a lot wrong to lose a game, and you don't have to do a lot different to win a game. Like it's that type of league. As I said to you, we lost a game at Exeter on a set play, but had 3 massive chances to have won the game or to have got something from the game. And that's the thing, it's those little margins at the minute in this league.
There we go, that's the end of Nathan. The video cuts off really weirdly abruptly for some reason. I don't know if the one I got sent was something wrong with it, but yeah, we got the gist of what he was saying there ahead of the game with Lincoln City. I mean, a few people picked up on the comment about he said we're not far off being a good team. I mean, James said he thought he was deluded after hearing that. Dudley's asking, are we really close to being a good side? A couple of people asking sort of questions like that. Chris pointed out it's all about winning cup games, the likes of Bromley, Cambridge, and Walsall. We've won games, Tom, against lower league sides, and yeah, it feels a little bit like straw clutching at this moment. The only way you can back it up now is by going on this winning run. Then, so if that's what you're feeling at this moment, then we have to back it up with a load of wins starting Saturday. No excuses from now on.
Totally right. Yeah, it makes me really angry to hear it, because, as you say, we know what we're seeing week in, week out. But then on the other hand, what's he going to come out and say? He's not going to say we're awful, is he? So it's a tough one, but he could just try and back the question away, I suppose, because you can't pull the wool over fans' eyes. Fans watch week in, week out, and they pay a lot of money to travel both home and away. So that we know what we're seeing, and I think 17,000, 18,000 fans would say we're not a good side. So yes, he's the qualified manager in the room. I get that. But at the same time, we know what we're seeing. And I don't think we are close to being a good side. And I go back to the point that with this style of play, I don't see that working. I think we're a bad side. I think sometimes it can get us wins, but only with those fine margins. I don't know how many games we've won by more than one goal, but if any. But obviously, cup games aside there on the league. So, yeah, it puts us in a very difficult position. And if that long ball's not working, if one of the taller players is out or whatever, then it's not going to work. So it's concerning. As I say, unless he's just going to ignore that part of the question, I don't really know what he's supposed to say. I understand he's trying to drum up some confidence in his side. So I get that as a management technique. But again, he's got to manage the fans as well as the players. And fans are going to turn against him if they're hearing different things to what they're seeing. And I think we're all in agreement that the style of football is not good enough and it's not winning us enough games.
Yeah, Andrew says we're a horrible side. Gary says we're nowhere near a good side. Mark says we're not a good side. Yeah, all hell let loose saying last season's squad would beat our current team and they were not very good. Yeah, and there's been a lot of talk about crowd size on Tuesday. I can't remember if we even mentioned it, but it was clearly very low. As Chris said, not even 10k there. I mean, it was 11k announced, but there's no way there was more than, I don't know, 7 maybe there. I mean, we know what the deal is with that. Tom, you just asked about winning margins. So, I mean, we've won 6 games so far this season, 5 of which came by 1 goal. One of which by 2 goals, which was the Bolton game. I'm just looking at some of the others. So Huddersfield have won 5 games by 2 goals. Mansfield have won 3 games by 2 goals. Reading have won 3 games by 2 goals. Birmingham have won 6 games by 2 goals and 5 games by 1 goal. Wrexham, where were they? Wrexham have won 4 games by 3 goals or more, and then 6 by there's teams winning more games by more goals than us. You know, this, as we've mentioned, we rely on quite tight margins. What has to change Saturday then, Sue? Who starts up front? I mean, where do you even start with how you fix this team in 3 days? But I mean, what would if you were the manager? What would be the message that you were desperately hammering home in the last couple of days?
That's the golden question, isn't it? You know what? I don't even know the answer to that, Louis. I don't
think the style's going to change. I think that's what it is now. I think even the conversation about being more fluid at the start of the season feels like it's gone.
Yeah, it's just as we've all clearly pointing out, this squad is not good enough. And how do you get the best out of a squad that's not good enough? And I think that's where you've got to look at how you line up on Saturday, who starts, who doesn't. I think are you thinking maybe like, well, let's take some risks. Let's start with Dixon and TC, or Daniel if Daniel's fit enough to start the game. Is it worth just going full pelt, like someone's just said, getting some pace on, even if you're not doing it down the wings? If you've got a bit of pace, where like Dan the other night, it was just a joke how quick he was, and then TC, potentially if you can start off with that bit of pace and the positive play, then you might have half a chance at it.
Yeah, I nearly fell off my chair at the start of the second half when Thierry Small made that really quick run down the wing. I was like, blimey! I thought I might have accidentally been watching it on half speed or something this game, and Charlton actually finally stretched their legs and looked like they could run with the ball, although that did turn out to be a one-off. I mean, all hell let loose is asking, does the team captain start on Saturday? Doherty back from his suspension now. Is he the man to come in and make everything right for you, Tom?
It depends what you mean by everything right. If it gets Alan Campbell out the side, then yeah, he's a long way there, because I think he's better than him. I'm really frustrated with Doherty. He's someone I thought was going to offer us a lot more, and I like how he comes across. So he's one of the players I'm really wishing would just kick on. But again, we're that far down the season now and we haven't seen it. So I would suspect probably him or Berry will come in. If they don't and Alan Campbell's starting again, then again, is that Jones just looking to have a dig at the fans over something? Because, as I say, he offered nothing the other night. If anything, he was a negative for the team, if anything. So yeah, I think he might come in, but yeah, he's not going to transform the midfield, is he? And I don't think without recruitment that midfield's going to change through the middle, which again goes back to our point. If you are going to change this style, the only way you can do it, I think, is with width. And that's either with wing backs, and then you've got to have Small one side and probably TC the other until Ramsey's back, or you go 4-4-2 and you put Tyrese Campbell and Dixon either side, and you give that a go. I know Dixon's scoring for fun at the junior levels, but you know it's getting to that point now where Jones has got to try something else. Because if we don't, to your point in the last question around you can't see the style changing, then I think his days are potentially numbered. Because if we play that way again and we lose at Lincoln, then you saw the reaction the other night. It's not going to be any better up there. There's just going to be ever so slightly less fans there because, as you say, it wasn't exactly busy at home either. But reaction's going to be, if anything, worse because people have paid a lot of money to get there. So, yeah, it's worrying how quickly this has turned. But we've got to be realistic now. Unless he can find a way to turn that back, we're in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, Emma's saying to start DK up top with Gas. They linked up so well shortly after DK coming on. Yeah, so yeah, maybe Dan, if he's ready to start a game, maybe. Yeah, Mike Salmon saying similar, DK and Kanu, and then get Dixon and TC on the wings as well. But Mark's saying there's no creativity. We need to find it, certainly. Right, we've run out of time on this week's big match preview. Yeah, it's another tough one. Find ourselves in another tough situation as we always do around this time of year. So, well, let's hope that Saturday is the start of the comeback. Well, I made myself laugh just saying that. So, that's not a good sign, is it? Right. Massive thanks to everyone who's joined us live on this evening's show. Really pleased with all your comments. I didn't get to all the emails as well. I got to a couple, but I've read all of them this afternoon, and there's some really good ones in there. Some really good questions. So thank you for those. Thanks to everyone who joined us live. Ben, who joined us from the Stacey West blog as well, was really good. Sue and Tom, pleasure as always.
Cheers, both.
Thanks, both.
Don't forget our merch store, charltonlive.etsy.com. Get your Christmas mugs in. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube as well so you don't miss another show. Next show will be on Sunday morning when we'll be looking back at the game against Lincoln. Hopefully we'll have some better stuff to say than we did after Tuesday's defeat against Crawley. Right, I'm Louis Mendes. This has been Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. Thanks for your time. We'll see you again on Sunday morning.